What's going on? It's fight season MMA, and today I want to make a video talking about the possible matchup of Tom Aspinall facing Alex Pereira for the interim heavyweight title. Just recently, Magomed Ankalaev got a fight booked with Alexander Rakic, and that was the presumed opponent for Alex Pereira next in the light heavyweight division. So I can only assume that the UFC is going to make this fight with Tom Aspinall and Alex Pereira, possibly at UFC 309 to co-headline the fight with Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic. If you guys enjoy the UFC content, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. That is the best way to support the channel. 97.2% of my viewers who watch my videos are not subscribed, so please go down and hit that subscribe button to help this channel grow. And if you guys want to stay up to date with the latest UFC content and breakdowns, please hit the post notifications button. That is the best way to stay up to date with the best and most recent UFC content. Let's jump right into the video on Tom Aspinall possibly fighting Alex Pereira. Okay, so yesterday, Dana White announced the UFC Abu Dhabi card at UFC 308, where one of the fights on that card was Magomed Ankalaev versus Alexander Rakic, and that immediately caught my attention because it was all presumably thought that Magomed Ankalaev would be fighting Alex Pereira for the UFC light heavyweight strap next. So that really leaves a very interesting division at the light heavyweight with no number one contender at it, and Alex Pereira, who is eager to fight, and also a current interim heavyweight champion with Tom Aspinall, someone who is looking to fight very often but really doesn't have a challenger in that heavyweight division. We all know Jon Jones is going to go fight Stipe Miocic, presumably at UFC 309 in Madison Square Garden, New York City. And I'm assuming the co-main event now on that card is going to be Tom Aspinall versus Alex Pereira. And that is an absolutely amazing fight. This is the fight that we all want to see Alex Pereira have the chance to capture the 3-division title. And this fight would be a very hard fight for Tom Aspinall, considering that Alex Pereira possesses so much power inside the UFC octagon. He just knocked out Yuri Prochazka at UFC 303 with one of the most disgusting switch head kicks I have ever seen inside the octagon. And at UFC 300, Alex Pereira knocked out Jamal Hill with one of the biggest I am him moments in UFC history. So a fight for Alex Pereira against Tom Aspinall, who is a lot bigger than him, who is probably in the same speed as Alex Pereira, but doesn't have the same power and also has a great chin, is going to be an amazing matchup. Who do I really think wins this matchup possibly at UFC 309? I think Tom Aspinall is going to go in there and get the job done. I think that absolute just size advantage of Tom Aspinall fighting someone who is a natural light heavyweight, and Tom Aspinall being a genuine heavyweight at 260 pounds at 6'5" is an absolute monster inside the UFC octagon. Tom Aspinall is one of the highest IQ fighters in the organization. Versus Curtis Blaydes, he knew that he was going to be ultimately better on the feet, so he hit that jab and knocked Curtis Blaydes down and automatically went for the finish. And I think Tom Aspinall is going to recognize the danger that comes with fighting someone like Alex Pereira in that stand-up game, because if you make one mistake versus Alex Pereira, you go to sleep because of how good he is in that kickboxing department. Alex Pereira is one of the best kickboxers and mixed martial artists on the planet Earth, but he really hasn't developed a grappling game quite yet, because when he started his career in mixed martial arts, he was primarily a kickboxer and not a well-rounded mixed martial artist. So that's why a lot of these fighters who think they can stand with him, the Jamal Hills and the Yuri Prochazkas, who don't go and take him down, are just getting flatline KO'd immediately when they fight him, just because of how well-rounded and of how good Alex Pereira truly is inside the UFC octagon. But Tom Aspinall is different. Tom Aspinall has a great jiu-jitsu and ground game. That's kind of how he built his the start of his MMA career was in his gym at his house, in his garage. He would be practicing jiu-jitsu with his father, who is currently his head coach, and that is why Tom Aspinall has such a good jiu-jitsu background. And that is ultimately the reason that he can beat Jon Jones, is because Tom Aspinall is going to be able to hold himself on the ground with someone who is a amazing jiu-jitsu and wrestling threat in Jon Jones. But Alex Pereira versus Tom Aspinall, the winner of that fight really needs to go and face the winner of the UFC 309 main event, that being Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic. Now, nothing is confirmed for UFC 309, but Jon Jones has repeatedly talked about him fighting Stipe Miocic at Madison Square Garden, and I think that is the fight to be had, considering that fight was booked at MSG last year, and it fell through because Jon Jones tore his pectoral muscle prior to that fight occurring. But I do think that the possibility of Tom Aspinall versus Alex Pereira is a very interesting piece into the equation, just because Dana White has been hemmed so hard by it by people like Joe Rogan, and a bunch of the fans have really wanted this fight, and giving Alex Pereira an opportunity to go up to heavyweight, considering how dominant he has been at light heavyweight and in the middleweight division. The only fight he's lost inside the UFC is to Israel Adesanya from that knockout loss. And as I've said, I don't think that knockout is as impressive as a lot of people think, because of how much weight Alex Pereira was cutting. The best fight in the UFC that you can make is Alex Pereira versus Tom Aspinall. Genuinely, that would be a fight that I would give all my money to watch, and that would be one of the most fun fights in the UFC. As we all know, Tom Aspinall has the shortest fight time currently in the organization at just over 2 minutes long. And as I always point out, his last 3 fights versus Tybura was 1 minute and 13 seconds, versus Sergey Pavlovich was 1 minute and 7 seconds, and this last weekend versus Curtis Blades was 1 minute flat. And Tom Aspinall has that power and has the wrestling and a stand-up game to combat Alex Pereira, even though he does keep his chin up there, which is going to be a massive problem if Alex Pereira lands that nuclear left hook. But I do think that Tom Aspinall versus Alex Pereira is going to end up happening before year's end. I think Tom Aspinall wants to be an active champion, even though he isn't the current undisputed heavyweight champion, as we all considering him that he is, but technically he's not. And I think once John Jones fights, I think that the winner of that could possibly be would be between Tom Aspinall or Alex Pereira. And I know Tom Aspinall proposed an idea to say that he wanted to have it to where the winner of that versus the winner of John Jones fought the same night, them two. So it'd be like a light or a heavyweight tournament, which I don't think what Dana White would go for. But ultimately, I do think the fight between Alex Pereira and Tom Aspinall will happen by year's end and will be one of the best fights in UFC history to ever occur. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA, and please let me know what you think about a possible fight between Tom Aspinall defending his interim heavyweight title against Alex Pereira, one of the most anticipated fights in UFC history, in my opinion, with Alex Pereira's recent run of knockouts at UFC 300 and UFC 303 and UFC 295 versus Yuri Prochazka. And I do think that John Jones versus Stipe Miocic is going to end up happening, so I think that the winner of Alex Pereira versus Tom Aspinall will only expedite and increase the popularity of a possible fight with John Jones and make that the biggest fight of John Jones's career. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA. Please let me know what you think about this fight and leave a comment down below. And please hit that subscribe button because we are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. And I know 97.2% of my viewers are not subscribed. So please go down there and hit that subscribe button. And while you're down there, turn on the post notifications. This is the best way to keep updated with the most recent MMA news and content. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA. And I will catch you guys very soon with more MMA content and news.